Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, so today back to working on this set of gears that I'm making for a Camelback drill press for a viewer that I'm trying to help out here. He'd sent these in to me and we're just trying to get a new set of gears made for him. So previously we got the first gear knocked out here. This one is a standalone gear. The second one, I've got a shaft with a gear built into it. It's a 10-pitch, 15-tooth gear. And then on the end of that is pressed another gear. It's also a 10-pitch and was that a 30-tooth, I think. I'll have to double confirm that. But these will nest together and will be kind of stuck on the same shaft together. So today's project is going to be getting this little shaft here turned out of a solid piece of metal. I got some steel here where we're going to turn that from. And we'll go ahead and get these teeth cut in here as well. So without further ado, let's get over here and get started on this. So this is the shaft we're going to be making. This is one solid piece of steel. This gear here is just turned into it. We'll be turning this out of a piece of steel here. I think this is 4140 if I remember right. And that's what we're going to be making it from. So we're going to take this over to the lathe. We'll start by turning down the outside diameter of the gear, which according to the math for 10-pitch, 15-tooth is 1.7 inches. And then we'll turn the shafts down on either side and go cut those over on the horizontal milling machine. So let's get over here to the lathe and start doing some turning. Got my stock over here in the lathe, and what I want to do is start off by facing this end and putting a center in it to give it some support, and then we'll go ahead and start turning it. I just got it in 3-jaw chuck. It's larger than the through hole in the lathe, so that's as far in as it'll go, but I think I'll be fine for just doing a light facing here. So got a little run out in there more than I like. Let me see if I can adjust this around a little bit. Still got a little bit, but it'll turn out. That shaft may be bent a little bit. We'll touch off. Just going to face this in. Get a nice square shoulder on this end. And we'll come in here with a center drill and put a center on this that we can give that shaft some support. All right. All right, I got my stock in here, and we've got, this is what we were trying to get out of it, so it's a little longer than it needs to be. I got it in here where we can just work off of this length. We'll cut the rest off. Start with the outside diameter of the gear. My stock is 1 3/4. The diameter here is 1.7, so we got about 50 thousandths we need to take off of this. So I'm gonna come in here, touch off, and we're gonna dial in about 25 thou. About there. Got a little run out in there. Like I said, it'll turn right out. The gear's going to be down here where there's not as much turnout. So even if we don't clean up here, I think we'll be fine down here where the gear's going to be. I'm just going to get a pass down through it. We'll get a good measurement and then work off of that to get down to the diameter we need. All right, let's get a measurement here. So we're at 1 inch 730. I'm gonna put that in the digital readout. It's actually already set. And we're going to 1.7, so I got about 30 thousandths to take off. I think what I'm gonna do is we'll take 20 off and then go back in here and do a real light cleanup pass. Need 10 more thou. This should be the final pass. And we're right on 1.7, which is right where we need to be. The next step here is I need to turn this shaft down. This is 1 inch in diameter and it's 5 3/4 of an inch from the end. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna just come in here. I'm gonna take my insert and I'm gonna touch off on the end. I'm gonna zero my digital readout and then I'm gonna dial in 5 3/4 inches, which is, see, right there. And that's how deep I need to cut that. I'm just gonna come in here and put a mark on there. That'll give me a visual indication of how deep I need to cut. And we're gonna go ahead and cut that out. I think I'm gonna change that insert. It looks like it's got a little burr on it when I was just cutting that right there. So let me get that taken care of as well. All right, we got a nice fresh insert in here. I'm gonna touch off, make a pass down through there. Since I changed that insert, I probably need to reset my digital readout. So we're on 1 inch, 640, 1.640. That'll give me to work off there. I got 640 thousandths to come off. We'll take about 100 thousandths pass here. Get this metal off of there. We've been whittling this thing down. Been taking 100 thousandths passes. And we've got about 150 more to go. I'm gonna take another 100 thousandths pass, which will leave me about 50 to finish up on. And I'm sure that part is really hot. So after I finish this pass, I'm gonna probably let it cool down and we'll come back and finish up that last 50 thousandths after the part cools down. When your part gets real hot, it'll expand, and when it cools down, it'll shrink. So I want to make sure my measurements are on. So the easiest thing for me to do will be to just let it cool down a little bit and finish this thing up. I probably really need to get a coolant pump put on this lathe where I can keep things cooler while I'm turning, but I've always been able to work around it. All right, after this pass, we'll let it cool down and come back and finish this thing up in a little bit. It's actually the next day. I just let that cool down overnight. That shrunk about 2 thousandths of an inch when it cooled down, and we're 46 thousandths to take off. I'm going to take, I'll take about 30 thousandths off, and then we'll clean up the last little bit on the final pass. A lot of times you'll get a better surface finish making a heavier cut than you will with a light cut. You can see the difference in the color there. Just the way these inserts work. It's kind of counterintuitive, but just the reality. But not a big deal. The surface finish there is going to be fine. And we can always take some emery and polish it out a little bit if we need to. Double check our measurement. I got exactly 20 thousandths I need to take out. This should be our final pass. I'm just going to go ahead right up to that shoulder. I'm just going to directly read it right on the digital readout to 575. And then we'll just kind of face out to square that shoulder up. All right. Right on the money. So now I'm going to break some edges. Make sure we don't have any sharp corners on here. I like using a 30-degree chamfer on the edge of gears. About like that. And we are ready to, we'll cut this thing off and flip it around, and we'll turn the stem on the back side of it. And this thing will be ready to put a gear on. We went over to my bandsaw. I went ahead and just cut that end off. It's a little bit long, but it's going to be close to where we need to be at. So next step is we need to turn down the outside of this to the end down there to little stub arbor. This gear is about 930 thousandths wide. I would have thought it had been an even inch, but it is a little bit short, so we're going to make it just like the original. And then the diameter on that outside is 1 inch as well. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to wait and face it at the end because I need to get some links right. So what I'm going to start by here is I've already zeroed my digital readout on the back side of this. I just basically took a little piece of metal in here and held it up there and touched off on that. So I'm going to come in 930 thousandths, which is just like the original, about right there. And I'm just going to put me a mark on there. I'm going to stop a little bit short of that because I want to measure that actual thickness with the calipers. But we'll come on in here, touch off. I will note that I put this in a 4-jaw chuck and dialed that in so it's running nice, perfectly true. And we're going to start turning that down over to that shoulder. Again, we're going to be making about 100 thousandths per depth cut here. And just work our way down. Like I said, the area in the middle for the gear is going to be, I'm going to leave it a little bit on the wide side because I can come in there and measure that in a minute. We'll just continue on till we get that whittled down to 1 inch diameter. About 10 thou to come off. I'm going to come into that shoulder and face out now. We're going for 930, so I got about 50 thousandths I need to take off of that. I'm just going to zero my digital readout, and I'm just going to move it in 50 thousandths. We'll just take a, face it down to size here. Now I purposely went a little bit deeper down on this side up against that shoulder because I didn't want a big radius down in that bottom when we press it of the gear up. So by going in just a little bit deeper, I won't have a radius in there for that shoulder to go up against, which will make it a little bit easier when we go to press that gear on nice and tight. And we're good on our diameter. All right, so last thing I want to do is I'm just going to come in here. We're going to, again, touch off. I want to zero my digital readout. I need for this to be 1 inch thick. So I'm going to face this. And because I zeroed it on that shoulder, I can tell I got 117 thousandths to get that down to the proper thickness there, 1 inch. So we'll just kind of nibble it down. Just confirm. Yep, 10 thou. This will be the final face here. And I want to put a center in the end, so I'll put my center drill in and do that. Go ahead and put a center in here. So when we take it over to the milling machine, we'll be able to support that on the foot stock while we're cutting the gears. I'll break this corner here ever so slightly. That'll just help us press that up on there. And I'm also going to break the corner over here on this gear. And again, I'm using a threading tool to give me that 30-degree angle. That should be good. And lathe work is done. We need to go set it up to cut the gear teeth on the mill machine. We are once again set up over here on the horizontal mill machine to cut our gears. So I got my gear blank in here. I got my proper cutter in here. Again, this is a 10 pitch. We're doing 15 teeth, so this is a number 7 cutter. There's 8 different cutters depending on the number of teeth, and the involute shape changes a little bit depending on how much it needs to flare out, depending on how many teeth you have in the gear. Right now I've got it centered up on the shaft. I've got it zeroed on the depth, and our total depth of cut on this one is going to be 220 thousandths. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and we'll just dial in. We'll probably do 150 thousandths on the first pass, which is kind of what we did the last time. That seemed to work pretty good. So let me go ahead. I'm going to raise up the table by 150 thou. That's 150 right there. So that should give us some depth there to work on. And I've got my dividing head set up over here for 15 teeth, or 15 gear teeth. So on this one here, again, this is my Model H dividing head, 40-to-1 ratio. For 15 teeth, I'm on my 39 hole plate. And for 15 teeth, let's see, we do 2 turns and 26 holes. So we'll do 2 full revolutions plus go around to 26, which I've got my little scepter here set to go ahead and index that. So, and that's right out of the manual. So I think we are ready to go. Let's fire this thing up and we'll start making some gear teeth. All right, let's get it rolling here. Again, speeds and feeds. I'm on 124 RPMs, and we're on 3 3/8 inches per minute on the feed rate. For whatever reason, I don't know why, it looks like this cutter is running a little bit truer than that last cutter did. Let's see how it sounds here. Oh yeah, much better. All right, we'll come out. I'm going to index my gear here. 1, 2, and around to my space in there. Let me get some cutting oil. And feed in another pass. One, two, and around. We'll get to do this 15 times as we go around the circle, and then we'll dial in the rest of our depth, and we should have this one knocked out. This gear should go a lot faster than that last one. We were cutting 37 teeth on the last gear I made. This one's only got 15 teeth, so less than half the teeth, less than half the time. All right, here we go. All right, last pass on this first depth. According to the math, we're going to 220 thousandths total depth. I'm at 150 right now. So we'll go on around. That's 200, and so I need 20 more. That's 220 thou right there. That should be our final depth. Let's finish cutting this gear. Pick right up where we left off. Nice cut. This is fully forming that involute tooth shape. So even though it's not quite as deep of a cut, it's a little bit wider of a cut. So I don't go quite as depth on it. All right, continuing on here. 1, 2. We'll take them back around, 15 more teeth, or 15 teeth total, I guess. This is number 2 we're cutting right now, and once this one passes, that first tooth will be fully formed, and the one on the other side will be halfway formed. Of course, we're cutting off of both sides of the tooth each time we go through. All right, this should be the last tooth. Or is there one more? There is one more. No, this is the last one. This is the last one. All right, one more gear knocked out. Well, here we go. One finished gear up here. This looks really nice. You can see it compared to the old one with all the worn out teeth on it. That one right there should work real nicely. And we got one more gear to make. It's going to press up on the end here. I don't remember the exact specs on it, but we'll be doing that in an upcoming video. We'll make that gear, press it on, turn it true to the spindle, and then cut the teeth on that one. And I think we'll have this job knocked out. And with that, this job is finished up. And like I said, we'll continue on in an upcoming video and get that last gear knocked out and get this sent back over to my viewer so he can get his machine put back together. And with that, guys, that's going to be a wrap. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thumbs up and comments are greatly appreciated. It really helps feed the algorithms over on YouTube to help other people discover my site and get word out about Vintage Machinery. Big, huge thank you out there for all the subscribers, or to all the supporters of the site, rather, who support via Patreon, PayPal, etc. We couldn't do everything we do out here without all your help. And guys, with that, we will catch you on the next video again. Thanks for watching.